Hi, everyone, and welcome to week 5. I am Dr. Stephanie Stoller, and I'll be providing the lectures for you this week. We will be focusing on some of the foundational skills of reading: phonology, orthography, and morphology, and we'll be doing sort of an introduction to those concepts. Those are all topics that you'll return to in future courses. So hopefully this will be a nice introduction to things that you will be continuing to study about as you move through future courses. So in the first lecture, we will be covering definitions of terms such as phoneme. You'll be able to identify and isolate phonemes in spoken words, which as a reading teacher, this will be critically important to you so you can support your students to do the same thing. You'll be learning why, although it is predictive of future reading performance and considered an essential skill, identifying phonemes in spoken language can be elusive. We'll be exploring the two categories of speech sounds, consonants and vowels, and we'll be connecting the topic of phonology to the concept of the simple view of reading, which you've already been exposed to. So this week you'll be learning about phonology, orthography, and morphology. All three skill areas are useful for building automatic word recognition skills, but they're also related to vocabulary, which is part of the language comprehension domain. So what is a phoneme? It is considered the smallest unit of speech that can change a word's meaning. A phoneme is not a letter. For example, there are 4 letters in the word shop, but only 3 sounds: sh, ah, p. Learning to read starts with the sounds in spoken language. There are 43, some might say 44 phonemes in English. They're represented by 26 letters that are organized into more than 80 letter or letter combinations. This is what can make learning to read difficult for some students, and this is why reading teachers have to have extensive knowledge of the English language, both oral and written. Linguists learn about phonemes in a language by studying what are called minimal pairs, words that differ by only 1 phoneme. Minimal pairs are evidence for the existence of phonemes in a spoken language. So for example, the words belt and bolt differ by only 1 sound. Teaching in a systematic and explicit way helps build on knowledge of phonology and can make learning to read easier for children. Teachers need to be aware of the phonemes students might encounter in both producing and perceiving speech sounds, the skills that linguists call phonetics. Alphabetic writing systems like English represent phonemes as well as other aspects of language. Spoken word recognition, pronunciation, and interpretation depends on accurately processing phonemes. Proficient reading and spelling are strongly associated with the ability to identify, remember, separate, combine, and manipulate phonemes, and to do so rapidly and without any effort. For these reasons, reading instruction should begin with speech sounds and then move to connecting speech to print. This requires reading teachers to have deep knowledge of the sound structure of the English language. Most speakers can't even list all the phonemes in English because we use them unconsciously in speaking and listening. We have to learn them and become metalinguistic thinkers to be able to teach phoneme awareness to others. Knowledge of how to spell can actually hinder an adult's awareness of phonemes. We have to set aside what we know about spelling to develop awareness of phonemes in spoken words. So let's do an activity together. I'm going to say a word and I want you to write down or hold up your fingers the number of sounds in each word. To do this, it will be helpful if you focus on the sounds and don't think about how the word is spelled. The first word is soothe. How many phonemes are in the word soothe? Say those individual sounds. 3 phonemes, soothe. How about the word her? How many sounds? A little bit more tricky. 2 sounds in the word her. Boy. oy, also two phonemes. Shout, out. That word has three. Again, not thinking about how many letters, but thinking about the sounds. Next word is ice. Two sounds in the word ice. Next word is sigh. I, two sounds in that word. Next word is mix. Another tricky one. Think about the sounds, not the letters in the word mix. There are four sounds. I, k, s. Next word is straight. Five sounds in the word straight. How about the word measure? Four sounds in the word measure. Next word is aid. Oh, how about choose? Next word is choose, sorry, where there are three sounds. The next word might either be aid or sing. Let's see what happens. Think about the sounds in both of those words, aid and sing. Three sounds in the word sing. How about the word thorn? Or three sounds. And the last one is quake. What are the sounds in quake? K, w, a, k. Four sounds in the word quake. Now, some of you may have had different responses here. You might be puzzling on a couple of these. Why would there be variation in the number of sounds in spoken words? Words that you all have used, you've read, you've written them many, many times. Well, one reason for differences might be regional dialects. They can cause differences in the way words are pronounced, and therefore differences in the number of phonemes. As literate adults, it's hard for you to not think about how these words are spelled. It's hard to not picture what the printed word looks like, and that can make it more difficult to say the phonemes correctly. In some cases, the instructional programs that we've used might teach things differently or even incorrectly, such as the sounds taught as word families instead of individual phonemes. Many of us learn to read without having explicit instruction in the sounds in words. So maybe some of you have never really thought much about this. When we listen to speech, we're listening for meaning. We're not listening for the minute details of phonemes. When we speak in running speech, running streams, not isolated phonemes. This can make it challenging to hear the phonemes and cause differences of opinion in the number of phonemes. There is something called co-articulation that happens in speech. The way that a phoneme might sound can vary within different words or across different words. When the sounds are kind of smudged together, it makes it difficult to isolate them. Phonemes are actually abstractions. And even though we think of the D sound as being one entity, it actually sounds a little bit different in the words desk, dress, and ladder. Even the word procedure, it has a D sound, but it's a slightly different pronunciation because of the place of that sound in the word and the other sounds around it. Spelling can be tricky, like using the letter X, which actually stands for two phonemes, or the letters N and G that stand for one sound. These are all the reasons why you might have had differences of opinion in the number of phonemes in those words. We're going to be exploring together two categories of phonemes. Consonants. There are 25 consonants in the English language. Even though linguists, people who study this professionally, don't always agree on how many phonemes there are, how many consonants there are, or how to represent them. Consonants are not vowels. These are sounds that are produced with the mouth partially closed and airflow obstructed by your lips, your teeth, or your tongue. We'll also be exploring the second category of sounds, vowel sounds. There are roughly 18 vowel sounds in the English language. vowels can be described as not consonant sounds. These are the open speech sounds where the airflow is not obstructed as it leaves your mouth, and there is a vowel in every syllable. It can be helpful to have a blank consonant chart and a blank vowel chart with you as you go through the rest of the lectures. There is a copy of each of these charts in the speech to print book, and it might be a good idea to make a copy. You can reproduce it yourself or make a Xerox copy of the charts that are in the speech to print book. As we go through the next several weeks of lectures, fill in the sounds on the consonant and vowel charts so you can really start to study how those sounds are related to each other, how they're different to each other, and what the implications are going to be in terms of teaching, reading, and spelling. By the end of the week, you should be able to fill in a blank chart on your own without referencing the book. So that's the challenge I'm going to set for all of us.